Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDO44 coming at you with another video. So I realized something. I was listening back to my Clipper video, and I realized I was asking who was going to facilitate and all that, and I didn't mention Reggie Jackson re-signing it. And I forgot Reggie Jackson re-signed, and I think the reason why I forgot Reggie Jackson re-signed is because he was one of the last signings, and it was kind of quiet for him. He was one of those guys like Schroeder who was kind of waiting. As the point guard situation kind of dried up around him. And he did, Dennis Schroeder, you can make an argument, deserved that. I think Reggie Jackson situation, as I said in a previous video, I think it was just one of those situations where people were looking at his playoff performance, and as great as it was, I think they were more likely thinking it was fluke than what to expect from him if they were to give him a long-term deal. And I think that's what he ran into. Even though he played immaculate basketball in the playoffs, I think people were more so looking at his entire body of work and just saying, well, we had seen him play immaculate basketball in the playoffs with the Thunder, and then he went to Detroit and he was a no-show for many, many years. How much that had to do with Detroit or not, who knows, but the perception from afar is that he did not have a good tenure there, and it spanned for a good period of time. They paid him a lot of money, and it just did not end up a good investment for that franchise. So I think most people are looking at him and saying that, and that's why it was kind of quiet for him in free agency. But ultimately, he played amazing basketball. I won't soon forget it. He's going to be the starter there. He's definitely starting over Bledsoe, and any coach that doesn't start him over Bledsoe is crazy. And this is coming from somebody who really liked Eric Bledsoe coming into the league, man. I did, and still do. I just understand that you have to put him in positions to do what it is that he does, not necessarily positions that he's been placed in. He's not a point guard. No, he is a shooting guard who is probably best in transition with an athletic basketball club. You know what club he would be good with right now? Even though they got all of the guards in the world, I look at a team like Charlotte with all of those runners and all those guys at high fly acts and dunkers and all that. That's the kind of pace I'd like to see Eric Bledsoe play in. He's best when he's able to move because he's not a shooter. But what he does have is long arms and an athleticism about himself and an ability to do a lot of combination type stuff. Get a little assist, a lot of rebounds here on this day, some scoring this day, slashing to the basket, that kind of stuff. Not the greatest free throw shooter, but he's effective. And when he's on, he's giving you a lot of everything. I've seen him at his best before the injury started kicking in, and that's also what has to do with a lot. I think is with him. But I remember he was close to an all-star early on, especially when he got to Phoenix. He was playing very well for that team. So, the possibility of him playing well if given a good role, I think is very high. I understand that his situation looks worse because the Bucks went on and won a championship after he left. But that's not fair because Drew Holiday's a significantly greater player than him. I think people are downplaying the greatness of Drew Holiday when they have that conversation. Eric Bledsoe is an average basketball player, with all due respect. Drew Holiday, as I've said on many occasions, is probably going to earn his way into the Hall of Fame from this point on. So, as far as I'm concerned, there's no conversation to be had there, period. But Eric Bledsoe's good at what he does. Just put him in positions to do what it is that he does and don't rely on him too much. If he's your fifth option, you're on a good team. You understand what I'm saying? But if you got him up higher in the pecking order, and you're asking him to facilitate the basketball, you're asking him to lock down the best guard, that's not his game. You would want him to be a better defender than he is, especially given the fact that he has extraordinary long arms and athleticism, but he's just not that effective of a defender at this stage in his career. You're not looking to him to defend. What you want him to do is just give me a scoring punch off the bench. Come into the game and destroy second units. Body up a guy who's going to be smaller and younger than you. Some of these guys who are a light pint size in the backside, I want him to take those guys off the dribble and make him foul him. That's what I expect from Eric Bledsoe. If you put Eric Bledsoe in situations that are effective, a role that is effective for what it is that he can do, he'll succeed. But you understand if you put the ball in his hands too much, he's going to turn the ball over. You understand if you put him on the best defender, he's going to get cooked. You understand if you rely on him to shoot the three, he's going to miss it a lot. If you rely upon him to be one of your main focal points of your offense, some days he's going to give you the points, some days he's not. It just is what it is. Average basketball player, straight up. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That means that he's made a career for himself. There's a lot of guys who are below average who've made careers for themselves, and ain't nothing wrong with that either. You know what I mean? But in comparison, when you look at the field, it just is what it is. Could one make an argument that the Clippers overpaid for him? Absolutely. But I'm one to look at things a little differently in the sense that I say they traded away players they weren't going to keep anyway. I know a lot of people, I've listened to some Clipper fans saying Patrick Beverley was hard and solely a team, but your team ain't doing nothing this year. See, this is what Clipper fans and all of us have to understand about the trade that just happened right now. If the Clippers did not trade Rondo and Beverley, chances are they would probably have to either trade them at the deadline or let them walk. Because what you don't have, honestly, is any hope for this season. And a guy like Rondo, he don't have that many more seasons to be thrown away. A guy like Beverley, he don't have that many more seasons to be thrown away. Now, one could argue they could have kept Beverley. One could argue that. But you got to understand, Patrick Beverley pushed Chris Paul in the back in the end of a playoff game on the losing side of the situation. After they had gotten basically close to getting eliminated, as the buzzer sounds, he walks up to the ex-head of the Players Association and pushed him in his back in front of everybody on the opposing bench, coaches, officials, everybody there to see it. Playoff game, national television. There was no way the Clippers were bringing him back. Steve Ballmer was not going to have Patrick Beverley back on this basketball team. That's what Clipper fans need to understand. I kind of knew that was coming. He hitched his ticket out of town. You know, the same thing that makes Patrick Beverley a phenomenal player to have on your team is the same thing that ultimately is a hindrance to him. And it's just like a lot of players. It could be their emotions. It could be what matters to them. Somebody say the wrong thing to them, and it could be justified in the streets, but it's going to cost you on the court, and that's kind of one of those situations. From what I understand, Chris Paul may have said something very, very derogatory to DeMarcus Cousins. That's what I understood it to be. And Beverley heard that, turned around and pushed him then. That's what the word was. I don't know if that's true or not. There's no way for me to confirm that, but that's what I heard. And if that's the case, he coming to the defense of his teammate in a heated moment, it makes you look like a sore loser. But, you know, those who know, if the situation was like that, those who understand will understand it. But it's like, it hits your ticket out of town, buddy. You can't stay representing that franchise. They're trying to build this brand new stadium. They're trying to compete with the Lakers. They can't have you on the team representing like that. Pushing Chris Paul, one of their legends, Clipper legend, Chris Paul, in the semifinals. I mean, I don't think he could have got away with pushing anybody like that. But who he did it to, nah, bro. No. You were getting traded. And that's the end of that. I don't know that they trade him if they don't do that. Now, this could be why the price was so high. If they felt, this could have been what happened, y'all. If the Clippers felt they needed to trade Patrick Beverley, and the only taker they had was Memphis with the contract that they wanted to unload of Eric Bledsoe that was just dumped on them, then that might be why this was such a lopsided trade. But you gotta just understand, sometimes it's just best to let people walk, fam. I know this is a wash season and you need to bring as many assets as possible. So if you're the Clippers, letting people walk isn't the same as saying letting another team with all their picks walk. So I understand the stranglehold the Clippers are in. And so if you see it that way, and if they're actually looking at it as we have to get rid of Patrick Beverley, then that would explain the dang price tag. That would explain why they're taking back Eric Bledsoe and giving up so much. That would explain it. Because I checked on the kid that they gave up as well. This is somebody who's, and I don't have his name in front of me, so I don't even want to pretend like I have it in mind. But I know what his game is like because I watch a little highlights on him just to get a little familiar. This is somebody who blocks shots, gets boards, and scores. A 20-10 guy, maybe. I don't know if 20. That's scoring, but I'm saying like a 10-10 guy, double guy with block potential. What are you giving up, Clippers? Like, did you pay attention to this prospect? He looked a little clunky out there in some of the highlights. Turned the ball over. Didn't look like he had the IQ quite there yet. But the production from game to game in this summer league of the player they just traded to Memphis, yeah, this dude is getting a double with blocks every night. That's what they just gave up in a trade to get Eric Bledsoe along with those guys, Rondo and Bledsoe. So I'm telling y'all, that price tag is higher if that player develops into what it is that his prototype looks like it could be. And if I know the Memphis Grizzlies, they probably targeted this kid. They, like I said earlier, they have some of the best scouts in the league. Between them, us, the Nets, those are the teams that are showing me that they have amazing scouts right now. And to be honest with you, if Memphis saw what I saw in this kid, yeah, they probably were asking for him right then and there. You figure they probably targeted him anyway. You know, they're probably looking to get him in at some point in whatever draft range he was in. So they probably just picked up. This is basically them picking up a draft pick. So they essentially gave up a contract they did not want for two players that they're probably going to waive in Rondo and Beverley, and a young prospect, or basically a draft pick. That's what they turned Eric Bledsoe into. You got to give Memphis credit. They're doing some phenomenal work up there. Phenomenal work. They're doing great work. This was a home run trade for them. If I'm reading the tea leaves and what I surmise is taking place is actually true, they took advantage of the Clippers feeling they needed to get rid of Eric Bledsoe, probably for political reasons, because he wasn't about to be pushing no Chris Paul in the back, and they bring him in this season. It wasn't happening. And if I'm looking around the league and I'm just going through my head, I'd imagine that not too many teams want to bring him in because of that same reason. Think about it, who he did it to. You might be getting blackballed. You might not see Patrick Beverley on the basketball floor this season. I kid you not. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. That might be what's happening to him. If he gets waived and you don't find him on another team, don't be surprised. I'm not saying this is happening. I'm just saying that the environment for which something like this could occur looks very, very, very possible. And judging by how quickly they traded him away in this really lopsided trade, knowing what I know about what happened there, yeah. Patrick Beverley, man, see, unlike guys who, like Ron Artest, you know what I mean, Steven Jackson, guys who were part of the Malice in the Palace, unlike those guys, you have to show people that you are changing, like right then and there. Steven Jackson came back; he was a different kind of guy. You know, Ron Artest immediately turned himself to getting his mental health in order. If he wasn't already trying to do that, he definitely made it a focal point of his life at that point. You know, and those guys were able to bounce back, and look where they are now. Metta World Peace is one of the people everybody loves to talk to. You know, he's always doing something that people can praise him for. Great character out here. And of course, Steven Jackson, we've seen what he's doing. You know what I mean? So it's like they turned it around. Patrick Beverley, you got to turn it around, bro. That's basically what it is. You got to turn it around. It's time to stop. It's time to stop doing the rah-rah thing. I think what he did for the Clippers made me understand that if I were running a team, I would want him on it. But what he did in that situation in the playoffs, showing that display with the world not actually knowing what Chris Paul said to him, see, that part is important. What I think may have happened in that situation allows me to look at it a certain way, but if that didn't happen and he just pushed that man in the back because he was being a poor sport for which that looked like, you see what I'm saying? That would be why this is happening. And him confirming to Chris Paul, he was like, you know, that wasn't for you. that made it look like he did it as a poor sport. I don't think he should have sent that tweet. I don't. Patrick Beverley sent a tweet. If you're not following what I'm saying, Patrick Beverley sent a tweet in response to doing that to Chris Paul, basically apologizing, saying that wasn't meant for him. And I think, as I do, him doing that basically sealed the deal, because that confirmed that you're a sore loser and that what we saw was uncalled for no matter what. See how my mind worked? Just all over the place. But at the end of the day, if any of this is possible, I'm trying to figure out why the hell Eric Bledsoe would be what you would get in return for that, especially when you're not in a position to take on salary. The Clippers are not. They shouldn't be the team that takes on the salary dump, and that's exactly what's happened here. Why would that be? Am I supposed to assume that the Clippers are just making mistakes? Nah, that's a calculated move. Does it help them in any way with the cap? No. Makes no sense. Does it help them on the basketball floor? We don't believe that is the case. So why do you do this? And then you look at Patrick Beverley. That's why they did it. Nobody else would probably take him. Y'all. And that's what it really came down to. After he did that, nobody else around the league would probably take him. This is like a smaller version of the Ben Simmons situation. And, not in terms of Ben Simmons doing anything wrong, but in terms of his value just not being where it needs to be able to make a trade for him that's going to get you the type of return that you want. Everybody knows what its value is, and they're not going to pay you more than the lowball price tag. So, yeah, that's what I surmise has happened, man. That's what makes sense anyway. It really does add up. If none of that is true, I apologize. I know what that alleges. A lot of what I said could allege some things that doesn't really look too savory, but I'm just putting two together, man, as I always do. That's what my brain does, man. My name is BDL44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.